Dabar.
Ir pasitenkit laikyti arčiau, nes gaunasi, jeigu taip toliau, tai taip blogiau. Yeah, don't drop the mic. Arba kažkaip dalintis reikės. You have to share the... Okay, super.
Hello, hello. Hello? Yeah.
It's because of the live stream. We're going to hear you well here, but for the live stream, we need to use the
All right. Hello, everyone. Everyone in the audience and also people online tuned in on YouTube. It's a pleasure for us to be here this Friday and to present to you the second episode or the second event of the Special Fridays. So hope we have already everyone who's in, and we can quickly begin and introduce you to this interesting concept. So we have Special Fridays as part of this sustainable innovation community we have started. So us as Catalysta Ventures, together with Rocket, we are working together, to make the Baltics and make Europe more sustainable, primarily through innovation. And we are running this amazing accelerator which some of you are more acquainted with than others, but the idea is to help the startups make the biggest impact they can by working with corporates. And actually, even today, you'll meet one of the coolest startups, I would say, that we have worked with. And also, we started this sustainable innovation community. So not only the startups who are working with us can benefit, and the corporates, but also every one of you. So if you'd like, you can also join our community and get all of these amazing benefits. But primarily, the community is to engage everyone who wants to work with us and everyone who wants to innovate, everyone who wants to learn more online, and then meet up in person sometimes as well. During Special Fridays at Rocket, you can come over anytime and ask for coffee as well. But what's the result? The result is that we can actually change the world together. We can network, we can meet the right people, we can connect the right stakeholders, and overall, we create this community that works together as an organism, that creates positive change. So if you'd like, you can see the QR code here, but also on YouTube, for those who are watching, you can also see that there is a link somewhere that you can press, and it will take you straight to Slack. And yeah, that's the thing. But today, why are we here today in particular is to discuss the topic of food. So, something we have all in common. All of us consume food, hopefully. That's how we live. And yeah, that's the thing. The topic today is the foodspiracies, or what is left for us to eat. Is there anything, or what's happening with the food market? And it's actually a very, very pressing issue right now because we see what's happening in the world. So during the COVID times, the supply chain of food has actually been disrupted, and many people have become unable to actually even afford or get the needed nutrition. So this was 2 years ago. But now we have the war happening in Ukraine when Russia has invaded, and this has disrupted the supply chain of food even more. So today this is the problem that so many people feel around the world. Probably 1 billion people right now feel it. But maybe we from the countries that are more developed, that are more innovative, that have more technologies and more even people who are working in this industry can support this? How can we, resolve the problem that has occurred with fertilizers? How can we resolve the problem? There is not enough wheat and grains going to Africa. How can we resolve the problem that Brazil cannot start their crop season? So here today we have this amazing panel that will provide you with some insights, will provide you with some answers, hopefully. And when we were thinking of who to invite, we couldn't even imagine that we would have such amazing speakers. And right now, let's see what we discuss.
And even before, Roman, I think let's introduce ourselves. I mean, for us, we feel that we're doing that, 1 billion times already, so that's why we don't need to introduce ourselves, but let's do it. So I'm Arvidas from Catalyst Ventures, one of the co-hosts today, and I have a passion. It's innovation. It's all about innovation, and today it's all about that as well. So yeah, I'm your host, and I will ask lots of interesting questions for our guests. And now, Roman, can you introduce yourself as well?
100%. So always forgetting to introduce myself, that's fine. Together with Arvidas, we are working actually with Catalyst Ventures, with Rocket Impact Accelerator, and other many interesting projects that kind of help solve these challenges around the world, primarily through innovation. And also, we are hosting this event. We are also having a podcast about innovation. So we are these innovation fans that think about it day and night, and that's why it is our pleasure to have this guest with us today to discuss this topic.
Okay, so let's start. And let's introduce our guests. And as the special Friday, we're doing a bit of differently. Because usually, people are just saying, okay, I'm from company X doing that for 15 years. And before, for 15 years, I did that and so on. And, it's not maybe the most interesting way. So we are trying to introduce people in a bit of different way and just start with a question. So let me start with Paulina here. And, I'm just reading. You're a PhD student in Lithuanian Research Center, food scientist, CEO at food startup. And for me, it seems like there are 3 different people who need to do that, and you are just the one. So, how you manage to do everything at once, and which is your favorite activity?
Hello. So, probably from science comes everything else. So in the first place, I would say that food scientist and searching for innovations in the science sector of food is the first place, and then comes all the others.
So on the startup you spend only 2 hours per week when you have time, or that's not the case?
No, it's more than that, and I'm not alone, and I'm involved in the party of startups actually. One is like a first startup, and there are much more, which includes innovative ways to introduce to society, to public, the food that would be future food. So I'm not alone. I'm just an creative person and an idea person. And sometimes it happens that I need to manage it too. So,
Thank you, Paulina.
Perfect. So we have Paulina, and then we have another person who actually I already made a teaser for. So she was one of the coolest startup founders of the Rocket Impact Accelerator first batch, and she impressed every investor in Lithuania and more during Startup Fair and all the conferences. And she's also this founder of amazing startup. But for me, at first, I was like, wait, what is happening? We are eating now these insects. But I want to ask you, how do you see the future? Do you want everyone, to replace their meals with some sort of, insects? Or where do you see this going? Because you are already changing the industry, right, with your startup. So maybe introduce yourself and how do you see this happening, with the insect farming?
So I guess our goal is not that everyone would be eating insects, but just that everyone would have opportunity to access alternative sources for affordable price, because obviously the sources that we are using today, they will not last long. So we just chosen this field as kind of huge opportunity to bring this affordable and available alternative sources for the humans and for the planet.
Awesome, awesome.
Nice, but we just had an event maybe 2 weeks ago. We tried to eat insects, and I kind of enjoyed. So I'm the one who can switch probably one day.
It was tastier than expected.
And we had the third guest today, Paulus, head of innovation at Viconda. And actually, I wonder what it feels to be an head of innovation in Viconda in food industry. So does it mean that you need to taste new things every day? That's your kind of things to do every day, or something different?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because some people, when I say what I do, they think that I eat ice cream every day and then do nothing, right? Telling which ice cream is good, which is not. So, well, actually my role in the company is a bit different. I'm working in innovation from more like business development side, not from R&D side, like Paulina, for instance. I don't have that background. So what I do usually, I have like 3 different things that I have to do in the company. So one is looking for companies to bring to our group of companies through investing, through collaborations. Second is pushing plant-based foods in our group of companies. And the third things, I work with some market development like Southeast Asia, well, China, not anymore, but yeah. So on the other hand, like three weeks ago, I just came from Expo West. It's the biggest stage for food innovations in the world, which is held in California. So actually, I tried a lot of things. Good and bad, but overall, the impression is really good. I mean, there are a lot of innovative companies and startups which are shaping the world. And what's happening there in the West Coast, in US, it's upcoming in next like 3 to 4 years here in Europe. And I'm really excited,
Can't resist for follow-up question, Paulus. I mean, so you said you tried some good and bad things. So what was the most impressive thing you tried in that conference?
Yeah, the most impressive thing, what comes to my mind is, I guess, it was Perfect Day milk. Anyone heard of Perfect Day? Yeah, so there is some companies. Well, this is like, it's a high-tech food company, and there are some more companies who does that. There is like, I think, Remilk in Europe, in Israel. There are maybe some more companies. But Perfect Day were one of those first companies who started to create milk proteins from nothing. I mean, for instance, maybe you heard of cultured meat when you take yeah, when you take stem cells and you grow meat in a laboratory. So what does Perfect Day does? They don't use any cells of the animal, and they imitate the code. I mean, well, maybe Paulina can explain in more detailed, technical way. I don't want to.
You can just say if it is tasty or not.
Because actually, the deep technical side, for me, it's still a question. But what I understand what they do is they create a protein through like not using an animal cells, and the taste is amazing. I mean, I tried ice cream, I tried milk, and for sure, I mean, you cannot. I mean, if I would test like a regular milk and their milk, I would see no difference. So it was really amazing. And the most interesting thing that I've seen those products at the retail. I think it was in Bristol Farms in Whole Foods. That and it has a similar price. The ice cream has a similar price as the regular ones. Because, for instance, with the cultured meat, the biggest problem is the price and, well, scalability as well. But in the milk industry, you can see that those products today has the same price level as regular milk. So I think the dairy industry gonna change drastically in an upcoming decade.
Interesting, really interesting. So yeah, I'm not a milk lover, so will not do it. But yeah, whoever wants, of course, feel free to try. Let's jump to the questions a bit and the topic. And the thing we wanted to start with was sustainability, actually. And like watching these documentary movies, Seaspiracy, Avocado Wars, Cowspiracy. It seems that every documentary which shows on Netflix, after that you can't eat one food anymore. And I'm already afraid to watch these documentaries as I'm still eating some food. So this is one probably part of a thing. So is it anything sustainable right now? Does we have at all sustainable food, which we want to discuss a bit here? Especially knowing that, from sustainability point of view, especially when we talk about meat and some grains and so on, each time we produce the meat or other food, we release a lot of CO2. So, when you take all the statistics, all these documentaries in place, you think, oh my God, I can't eat anything because then, I kind of harm the earth. So what do you think about that? What do you think about, how do you rely to that? And what do you think what's sustainable right now to eat? Is it bugs only? We can start with you. So maybe that's more sustainable, no? Isn't it?
That's a difficult question. If everything is sustainable right now, yeah, sure. I think we have some sustainable food out there, but it's very, very tricky for consumers, I guess, to choose because the term of sustainability is very broad. What we consider to be sustainable food, do we consider that to be kind of produced with the low CO2 emissions or by the company who really takes care of their employees and the practices that they're applying internally, or the companies that we have some relationships with now, our aggressor neighbor. So what we consider to be sustainability, it's very, very tricky. And but yeah, sure, out there is a lot of I think locally produced sustainable small kind of farms or markets, and you can find that, but it's hard actually.
So we need to come back to grandmothers, yeah, and take some, jams out of them, and that's already a good idea. So.
Go back to your grandma and help, for her to do the land and all this kind of seeds in the spring and not to complain. At least this is what I'm doing right now, because before that I was very angry when she was forcing me to do some job for her on weekends, and now I'm just getting back there and happily doing all the work in the garden.
Amazing, and then you can grow some worms as well, I guess, for also eating. And Paulina, what about you? Maybe science is solving that already, and your startup, maybe that's super sustainable food already, and we need to just switch to that food, and we are solving that problem.
Well, it depends. I think the most sustainable way is to grow up your own food and to have a small community and farm markets, and then it's the best way to have sustainable food. But when we're talking about the worldwide, and it's a privilege to grow up your own food, yeah. So science is solving that way. How to storage your veggies or your meat. What they need and the characteristics. For example, nowadays we are talking about the about light waves, which kind of improves the stability of veggies, of salads, and even modified atmosphere. So it's really important to adapt it in the areas which is not suitable to growing up, depending on the climate conditions. And urban farming, expanding these kind of things. And there are startups who are doing it, who are doing big greenhouses with specific lightings, with specific characteristics, depending on what they are growing, and science is helping that. So I think that too. Another thing is like the whole chain from like farm to fork. Everything depends on the soil we have, and what kind of fertilizers we are using. Do we overuse it? So technologies like drones, like making photos from above to all the fields and getting to know what is the harmful place and where exactly we have to put pests, fertilizers to prevent it. So this is the thing, I think so, that science is going to sustainable production, but it still has a lot of challenges, because now everything has made like corporations and factories and so on, and people probably knew that it's good to do that, and now we know that we have to implement innovations and create innovations not only for like small new startups, but also to like big factories, big companies, and give them solutions.
Okay, and we have Paulus here as well for the same question. So let me remind that we are talking about, is it anything left to eat, sustainable? And I know that probably you're also working on some brands as well, so or some kind of suppliers of food. So, what do you think? Do we still have something, or everything maybe it's not sustainable anymore? Paulus?
Well, speaking about sustainability, I think we have to understand what is sustainability, because there is a lot of sustainability now in foods and energy and everywhere. I think there is a lot of greenwash, and I think everyone will agree here that everyone is speaking about sustainability now. Every company in food industry, the major company, is speaking about sustainability. So what I would say, first of all, sustainability from my opinion is when we speak about soil is really important. Regenerative agriculture. This is what in US they speak about. They have a big problem there. For instance, in Lithuania, we have deep traditions of regenerative agriculture. So this is one of those things that in Lithuania, what we have to proud of. Second thing is alternative proteins. So I think that we don't have a sustainable system of proteins currently in terms of dairy industry, in terms of meat industry, because, United Nations predicts that by 2050, our population will grow almost to 10 billion inhabitants. So we'll have to grow almost double size of food what we have now. And you have to keep in mind that 40% of the land, besides ice and sands, we use for agriculture. We use to grow stock feed. We use to grow animals. So this is 40% of land. 30% of agriculture land is used only to grow stock feed. So it means we use only to grow to keep animals, to feed animals. So I mean, it's really unsustainable. And we understand that if we want to double those numbers, it is just mathematically impossible. So I think alternative proteins, like what I was mentioning, like Perfect Day and those there are like dozen of companies, I mean, maybe hundreds of companies who does that, not only in milk, but in meat, in egg industry. So precision, I would say plant-based meat is one of those topics, what we should do in Europe and what we do actually as a company. And I think that's how we target flexitarians, right? So I think if you want to have a change and if you want to have a fast change, you have to target a big group of companies, because a lot of people think that if you if you eat vegan food, then it's really healthy. We have to understand that vegan vegetarians will have only 1 to 2% of global population. So if you want to have an impact, you have to target, I mean, everyone had to do that, or at least, the majority of people. So I think solutions like plant-based foods is one of the options, what we can do now, and actually what we already have in our markets. On the other hand, we can see the situation in Africa, in same Ukraine, that they don't speak about sustainability right now. So people are starving, So I mean, we have a lot of problems, but I think that step by step, companies are doing things, and yeah, I think we have sustainable food, and not always the naturalness is the answer as well, because yeah, we can say we should eat meat, but on the other hand, we should think what are the next generations going to do. So,
Thank you. Nice.
It's a very important topic you already kind of touched upon. How do you know what's sustainable? Because if you trust the corporation, I mean, every one of them is sustainable, right? You trust the labels. You look at the label in the supermarket from far, eco, green, sustainable, good, ethical, whatever else. So, it's very important to also understand what consumers actually think and how they treat this sustainability and sustainable consumption. So the next question is for the consumers. And if you can go to menti.com and use the code over there, you can actually see a question, which we will also say in a moment. But for now, if you can go to menti.com. Probably, some of you remember Menti from the times when you had these online meetings and everyone says, all right, guys, we want some engagement here, let's go to menti.com. So in this case, at least we have some live interaction, but still, it is a quite efficient, quite easy way to connect and to show your opinion.
We're so used to Zoom times, we can't live it without it anymore. Sorry, guys.
We have the Stockholm syndrome, but for Zoom.
Yeah. And what's the question, Roman?
So let's see. I hope everyone has already connected. So what we want to understand is, do consumers think that they are sustainable, and in what way? So the question is, do you think you consume food in a sustainable manner? And there is 3 answers. So option A, you betcha. I spend 95% of my time in the shop studying the label. So, this kind of shows the dedication. You come to the supermarket, you don't just trust the first thing you see that says green or eco, but you actually see what's there and try to understand it. Then the next one is, well, I do eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, so what more can I do? And maybe some people think that. As we see, a fair amount of people think that. And then the last one is, well, there is no way I can be sustainable, because how can I survive without my regular burger and some bottle of Corona beer from Mexico? So that's the other one. Okay, so we can see the results that 60% of people actually say that they do enough by eating fruits and vegetables. Okay, and then we have 10% of those. Well, psychopath at this point that, come to the label and, study it for 10 hours and understand what's happening there, what kind of particles are in the food. But, those are the people who actually probably make the biggest difference. And then we have some people who, well, I can also relate to it to some extent, that cannot survive so much without meat and without, foreignly imported products.
Which one is you, Roman?
I will leave it as a mystery. So
I eat apples, so maybe I'm in the second category. I'm joking, of course.
But let's hear from our guests. How do you think the society is changing? Do you think that actually people are shifting and becoming more educated and trying to understand more what they eat and choose wisely, or do you think they just pick some apples in Maxima and say, all right, it's enough of sustainability today? What do you think?
Well, I think we're going that way, but small steps, small steps. That's why we are talking about it. I think it's a good start. But in general, I think if your burger consists from, local meat, you buy your buns from the farm, where the wheat was growing, and Corona is actually the craft beer. So maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's more sustainable than, the fast food and so on. So this is my opinion, basically.
This makes me feel so much better, actually. So that makes complete sense. If you consume locally, if you try your best, then that's good. And the more education there is of this, the more consumers are shifting. So Paulus, what do you think? Because you represent a bit larger, let's say, corporation, targets so many different consumers. What do you think of the changes, the shifts in the society? Are they actually going out of their way and paying a bit more sometimes to buy more sustainable food, or do you think it's still coming in the future?
Well, I mean, I would say flexitarians, right? There is like 20% of people overall, let's say in Europe, who are looking at the food and they choosing the better. I mean, they're making a better choice because of packaging, because of the ingredients, because it's more friendly to the environment and etc. Let's say sustainable food. So it's definitely not half of the population, and we are serving more than 20% of people in Lithuania and abroad. So I would say there is still a limited access to those kind of products. And I think the biggest challenge for plant-based foods is overall is price. And I think that people would eat better, and not only here. Maybe there is a bigger problem in US, but the price is a big challenge. On the other hand, precision fermentation, what I was mentioning before, like it's really cool, not using a cow. You have a milk, or you using only an animal cell, and you don't need an animal. You have a meat, but there is another issue that you don't know whether it's healthy or not. So I think that consumers are really aware of those new technologies which can be sustainable, right? So I don't think that sustainability is always an answer, and I think lots of consumers still looking for those naturalness. So. And what we as a group do, we serve people with plant-based alternatives, but the majority of our consumers is those who loves natural foods. So yeah, I would say, I mean, we serve most of the people, but we give people choices,
So if you add natural to plant-based meat just on the label, people would eat it, yes, I understand, because we like natural.
It's doable, but it's price sensitive. To make organic food, to make like healthy food, it costs, for the producers to do that, and not all the consumers can afford that. So I think that's the big challenge for everyone, for companies, for consumers to shape, their habits of eating better food. So,
or you just trick them, but in a good way. So you put a cow on the packaging, and they think, probably I'm getting the cow, but in fact it's some sort of plant-based that tastes similar. So, of course, if you trick them, but for the good cause, maybe it's not so unethical. Not so unethical. I don't know.
Actually, there is another challenge for producers of plant-based foods that. For instance, have you seen in Europe those nut milks? They're not called milks.
Right.
Yeah, because you cannot do that. It's same with I think it's same with the meat. I'm not sure right now, but I think you can do that in US, but in Europe not. So because there are like companies in same dairy industry who are protecting that. So you can try to trick, but there are challenges as well.
Let's hope companies like yours spends on lobbying in the right way, and then maybe it changes. But Mante, tell us about the alternative proteins. So how is the market right now? And have you managed to increase the supply so much that it's become affordable, and everybody can now make burgers from some insects, somehow?
I think the industry is getting there. The trend that we see that when we started 5 years ago, most of the producers were in the very kind of early or pilot stage, and right now our customers and our potential customers, we know they're moving in the really large-scale facilities globally, and even more investments are going into the field. So we are getting there, and it's like chicken and egg problem. You have something new to offer, so at first you need to kind of make your potential buyers to get used to the idea that they would be willing to buy. On the other hand, when they are, you don't have enough supply to offer, so they're dealing a bit with that chicken and egg problem, but I think it's in general, the trend is going very well. A very important aspect regarding insects, everyone are making fun, like, do you think people will be eating insects or not? But the largest market today, and I think the largest problem that the industry is solving, is the feed. Because for livestock, I know, I can imagine, like, when we buy a chicken or pork or whatever, we don't even kind of consider or are aware of, like, what efforts, like what feed inputs were made to produce that 1 kilo of fresh meat. And that's a lot, and that's causing the most of the sustainability issues, right? Because the people can eat plant-based, like, food, like crops or whatever, but also to grow that meat, animals eat a lot of crops and other feed sources that requires land, right? And that's the biggest problem. So so basically insect market and insect producers are solving that feed shortage, sustainable feed shortage problem. So I think if we can change at least 50% of conventional feed that we are producing today versus that alternative feed sources, it already would be a really huge step towards sustainability, and maybe that wouldn't be such a huge issue to go to the supermarket and think, should I today eat some salads or some meat, because that meat also would be produced in the more sustainable way. So that's where we are going.
But the thing that you need in this sort of vertical, in this sort of market, is a really good brand ambassador. And I hear that Bear Grylls is available. If you remember his show, he was always eating bugs and whatever else, as a source of protein to survive. So, if you get Bear Grylls, I'm sure that it'll be millions of people just rushing to whatever insect farm and saying, hey, can I buy in bulk and, start preparing my own Bear Grylls diet. So think about that. Maybe it happens.
Okay, I will, but actually a lot of Hollywood stars are joining insect production companies as investors, so I think it's kind of helping to promote what we do here.
Yeah, it's still a lot about marketing. And actually the next question is also a bit about marketing. It will be a quiz for everyone, so it will be really interesting. Get ready to that one. And actually, a lot of times, all innovations, and I think that sustainable food is also an innovation still for us. So, it's related to the myths, which people think that, something is happening, but it's not happening. So we'll give you 3 kind of facts or 3 myths, actually 3 statements, and 2 of them will be myths, 1 will be a true fact. Yeah, this is or 1 myth. How we made it? No, two facts and 1 myth only. So you need to think which is the myth. Is it like that plant-based meats are high on protein and nutrients? Is it myth or true? Maybe insects provide less protein than even meat and chicken eggs. That's a myth. Or maybe avocado farming causes droughts and earthquakes, which seems to be, yeah, amazing. So which is true, which is not? What do you think? Everyone's guessing that the second one. And maybe we can start discussing already, and we chose this kind of topics as well to represent a bit of the guests we have here. So Mante, I mean, what's the biggest myth you feel? I mean, is it this one that it's less kind of healthy or less protein in the insects if you use them instead of meat, or something else? What do you feel? What's the biggest thing you hear and you need to convince otherwise usually?
I remember we were playing these games at Rocket at your accelerator, and I was always failing. So now I really afraid to guess. But I think most of the people are not correct, thinking that insects provide less protein than meat and chicken eggs. So this is I'm sure about, and it's not only about like the quantity of proteins that insects consist of, but digestibility of proteins that I guess usually people are not aware of. So on the percentage side, yes, maybe insects has a bit less, but the digestibility is very, very high. It's almost like equals to the eggs, which eggs like are like almost 1-to-1, and I guess Paulina maybe can even elaborate more on this, the digestibility aspects of the proteins. But regarding other two, I think maybe.
But that's okay. That's okay, Mante.
Yeah?
I mean, we just wanted you to comment the second one. And, we don't want you to,
Okay, I
to
can
have
see.
a hard time today. That's okay. But of course, I mean, so Paulina, can you comment yourself? What do you think? Which one is myth?
It's a myth?
Yeah.
Which one is the myth? Well,
As a science person, you will say that all three are
Oh,
myths.
no.
then, and we
I'm
will
on
understand that
pressure. as a science person, we always have like a holistic view and always have like,
So yeah, that
truths
might happen
and
as well.
falses.
It's a lot of philosophy involved here, like
Yeah.
according to
How do you
avocados,
define a
then
myth?
you can start to think of and
Yeah, so maybe I'm gonna comment a little bit on everyone. So plant-based meats has high on protein and no nutrients. Well, I agree with that, but we have to describe the protein. Do we want to have like full balanced protein complex or not? So,
Super complicated. Most
Yeah.
of audience, I guess, are better in knowledge than me, and I feel that for me it's like protein is already hard word to understand, and then you go deeper. Oh my God, it goes
Yes,
very,
exactly,
very, very.
exactly. So when we're eating meat or fish or eggs, we have like a full a complex of amino acids. Insects has it too, like full spectrum of amino acids, which is important as to be functional and healthy. But when we're talking about the plant-based, it's usually a lack of some amino acids, which we don't synthesize it in our body, and that's why we need variety. If we're gonna eat like just soy proteins or like pea proteins, it's not gonna be enough. So it depends, Insects provide less protein than even meat and chicken. So no, I don't agree with that actually, because insect has.
As most of people go with.
I think insects has like a lot of protein actually, and avocado farming causes droughts and earthquakes. Well, it depends on which kind of avocado farming it is, but I think it's kind of a myth. But you don't know.
That's fine. Yeah, let's not
remember
disclose till the answer.
I remember the statistics class where they would say, okay, correlation doesn't mean causation. Remember
Yes.
that. Never say causes when you don't know for sure. So, let's, for the sake of the argument, let's leave it at cause.
It was more like about having fun here and going through. But what I see, Paul, is that at least people understand plant-based meats at least more than other ones. I would say so. That's nice. Maybe good for you. I mean, as you're also kind of working on that base, maybe So how do you feel about that? Is it like a lot of myths still around plant-based meat, that people say, no, it's not healthy because it's plant-based, it's not a real, it's, it will taste like plastic, whatever. So, what do you hear from the consumers already?
I think that in a food, rather than in other fields of innovations, here is taste is the king, and I mean all the consumers. It has to taste good. I mean, you have to like it. I mean, so that's the main thing. Some people love it, some people don't like it, and I think that's a normal thing. Well, speaking about myths, it was really hard at the beginning when we were bringing moving mountains to Lithuanian market. At the beginning, I was like speaking with chefs and trying to convince them that, look, this is not a soy or chickpea thing. This is like a food technology, and it's like we're trying to imitate the meat, right? So there was a lot of myths in terms of food professionals who said, oh, come on, this is for vegans, vegetarians only. And the biggest challenge, I think, still is to say that, well, this is not for vegans, vegetarians. These foods are created for us, I would say I'm a flexitarian. I mean, for me, environment is important. So I think that was a big challenge here. But on the other hand, as I said, it has to taste good. Food has to taste good. It can be really sustainable, it can be super healthy, but you won't eat it if it not tastes good.
I like this flexitarian. I think I will use it as well. I mean, so, it means you eat what you want, yeah? Isn't it?
But also it kind of sounds like a religion, Oh yeah, I'm pescatarian, flexitarian. I'm like, okay, do I disclose my religion now? Like, what's this conversation? How did it escalate so quickly? But okay. And maybe like any of the guests like have an idea of what's this next Netflix documentary, what's the next conspiracy and myth they will, I don't know, bust or uncover. Any ideas?
Maybe you're filming one. Super hard question.
Yeah,
actually, we wanted to ask it because we want to film one.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know, for example, what will be next on Netflix, but I somewhere remember seeing one interesting movie about labels and certifications, and that was like completely greenwashing. Some companies are selling some certifications like ocean friendly or whatever, but then like killing animals. So it's I think interesting topic could be certification, labeling, what we see on the packages, and what does it mean? Because now there is no transparency at all.
So we will all start reading packages for 10 hours in supermarket after watching. It
shouldn't.
This movie.
That's the problem. It shouldn't be 10 hours, right? It should be so much into your face that you would understand just seeing a color and you understand what it is, and it would be as it's stated. So.
Nice. Okay.
Netflix is opening their office in Europe, so let's hope they are watching and taking notes, and that's the next documentary. So let's hope this changes. But let's actually move on to the next question and the last question we have on Menti, and actually all the people can answer as well. So for those who don't know the context, maybe don't vote yet, but we had this workshop with a super cool lady, and she said, let's approach any problem from two sides. From the one side, let's be super negative and, be counter. I mean, how do we do counter action to what we want to achieve? So in this case, like, we want to save the planet, but how do we kill the planet? That's like an interesting way to think. It's hard to explain this question, oh my God. But essentially the question is, so what do you take twice per day as a meal to kill the planet in the fastest way? So we have tuna tartare, we have beef steak, and we have equivalent weight in avocado toast. Because, avocado toast, they are tiny, and they're not, like, so filling. So, we thought, no, this beef steak, so equivalent weight. And actually, from my side, I love avocados more than other two, so I feel a little bit like killing the planet here.
I would probably take tuna tartare. I watched Foodspiracy. That's the last documentary I watched about this food, so it was really hurting me, to be honest. Okay, and what
So
about
the question is for the guests actually, because you're the ones, saving the planet. So have you thought, how do I kill the planet in the most efficient way? And what would your answer be?
This year in July, and this is related what Paulus was telling before a bit, but just from different angle. In July, it was Earth Overshoot Day, which meant that during 2021, so it's sorry, it was already last year. Time flies. So 2021, we consumed more resources than the land can produce over the year for such amount of humans. So meaning that in when we are already in 2022, we're already consuming from the resources of the future years, and the curve will just grow up. So I think we already did it. So I'm not sure. So now we can just knock ourselves with all those foods and eat whatever, or still try to change something. I think tuna, beef, yeah, it's two, I guess, the most damaging. Avocado as well, depending on how much you eat, basically. If you're eating too much on a daily basis, everything, so it's damaging, right? So it's also about the portions that we put on our plates.
No, thank you for the comment. I cannot say I like it very much, but that's the truth. So I'll bear with it.
We just need to feel that shock that something would be happening. So if we are just sitting here in our bubbles with our nice communities of educated people, it will not change, because out there it's like really huge problems going on. So sometimes we just need to shock ourselves that to push forward and do that change.
I agree. So I hope everyone listening is taking notes and also thinking of their next supermarket trip and, making sure they buy at least some of the food that's not killing the planet. But Paulina, you're the one creating the products that are sustainable. So have you thought, what kind of products are the least sustainable, and which one of those would you choose?
Well, as I said, it depends. Yeah, but in general, if we're living in Lithuania and we're eating avocado toast, so the transportation cost that avocado could actually get into our place is like, wow, and CO2 emissions and everything. It's crazy. Tuna, the ocean, the microplastics, the engineering of marine, and to get that tuna into the can, or even on your plate as a tartar, it's a long way. Beef steak, and also like grown up the beef.
It's a classic.
Yeah, it's classic, but in general, probably the fastest way to be probably the tuna. I would choose tuna, probably, and I wanted just to mention how innovation is important. Yeah, so we can eat the kind of healthy food right now, but in the future, I think what Paulus mentioned, cellular agriculture and fermentation of byproducts, for example, to get the alternative proteins. Now it's a new word of mycoproteins, which is produced from fungus bacteria of a byproducts from, for example, from the juices, the leftovers. It's all the waste. But we're actually using some kind of new technologies like fermentation. We can make more sustainable proteins, if we're talking about the proteins.
This is, one of most used things. So I'm taking that from this discussion. I will read more about proteins after that. I think I don't know a lot about it. So, yeah, that's my takeaway.
But also, we need to find a better way to sell those things when we say, oh yeah, it's actually made from some sort of like those words that you said. It doesn't sound as sexy as, beef steak, but if we somehow make sure that, it sounds good and consumers want to buy it, perhaps we have a better chance. So let's see. But it's so good to have scientists who actually design those things and are working, let's say not day and night probably, but are working every day to advance this science and create new foods that are not killing the planet. So that's fantastic. And Paulus, tell us your thoughts.
Well, I think eating tuna every day, you will kill yourself faster, you know, because of like really heavy. I mean, a lot of heavy metals in tuna, in salmon. It's really bad fish for eating every day. I don't know, but in my opinion, you will kill Earth and yourself. Well, yourself before that, if you eat only avocado toast or only beef, only tuna. So I think that the balance is really important thing. I love tuna. I love beef. I love plant-based foods, and I think that the consumers should also look for healthiness in themselves. So to look for balanced food. And but if you're saying the fastest way, I would say beef, because tuna would extinct really fast, and you have you can better scale with the beef if you're looking.
All right, we are getting somewhere. Okay.
So I think if we would eat only meat, we would have a big problem with greenhouse gas emissions and climate change.
I'm really happy that the three of these people are on the good side and are not devising the plan to kill the planet, but to save it. So that's reassuring, because I think if they wanted to, it would happen quite quickly. So I'm reassured that they are on the good side.
Okay, so that was the last question, yeah. So, and actually our time is almost up. So I would say thank you, everyone. Yeah, we got some secret slides on the screen, which we didn't know with Roman, but maybe that's a new agenda. All in all, so we wanted just to say thank you, everyone. All the guests here and all the audience here and watching from YouTube. For the ones who are watching from YouTube, we will invite to the Rocket next time because we still have nice snacks and coffee. And we will have more topics like that to talk. So I'm thinking everyone can think right now what they're taking away out of that. And for me, it's like a bit of how I understand is like, it should be a healthy mix of everything, as I understand. And we need to think about also the second effect. So if you eat meat, it also eats some grain, before. So, I mean, you double kind of, negative things. And I think I will try to eat more like the substitutes of meat, even though I have a nice Kamado Bono in my home and I like to grill, but maybe I can grill also plant-based things as well. So yeah, Roman, would you like to say something?
Perfect. Thank you so much for the panelists. It was super big pleasure to talk to you and to hear some cool ideas. And thank you for the guests. It's really good to have people live who are also taking something from this, and also people on YouTube. I actually have no idea where the camera is, so I would wave. So thank you for that, and join our innovation community on Slack, and you'll be updated of all the new cool things we do. And next week, or maybe the week after, we'll have another special Friday. So tune in. Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.